Are you looking to move to the St. Johns County area and noticing there's a ton of new construction and kind of weighing out your options to see, do you want to buy a new home or a resale? Well, today I'm going to go over 5 reasons why you may not want to build a home in St. Johns, Florida. I'm Caitlin Blosser. I am a local realtor and mom who lives in St. Johns, Florida, and here to help you whether you're a local or you're moving into the area with all your real estate needs of Northeast Florida. So if you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Check out the link in my bio to schedule an appointment with me today. But let's go ahead and get started with today's topic. So the first reason why new construction might not be for you is you have to have a lot of patience if you're going to go through the build process in St. Johns. We have a wide variety of builders. We have builders that only produce spec homes with no options, meaning they've already picked out everything about the home and you just buy it, all the way down to the builders where you pick out the lot, pick out the floor plan, and pick out every detail in between. And then we have some custom builders that let you move some stuff around. But either way, they all require a ton of patience. And the big reason for that is that people assume new construction means the home should be perfect, and more often than not, unfortunately, it is not. The build process isn't perfect, and then more than likely you're going to run into some issues after closing. Now, the beauty of that is that with new construction, you do have a 1-year or a 10-year warranty, where if anything goes wrong within that first year, the builder will come out and fix it. And just think it's one of those, it's brand new. You have to kind of test the kinks out, but there's a lot of frustration involved when people see things going in that are wrong, or things have to be fixed before closing, or like after we moved into our house on month 4, I think we had a roof leak and it was a brand new roof and we were so frustrated, but the builder came out and fixed it. So you have to have a lot of patience with it not being perfect, and then you have to have a lot of patience with the timeline. When you sign your contract to build, unless the home is completely done, a lot of times they'll give you kind of a broad, like, oh, it'll take 6 to 8 months, 8 to 10 months. Oh, we should be done in about 2 months. Either way, they really cannot give you a set closing date until we're about 30 days out. Building is just such a domino effect. So when everything kind of went crazy during COVID, there was a lot of delays on things that they did not realize, like garage doors, windows, things that would really hold up the building process. I have a home right now that we're waiting on countertops. Literally, the home is complete except for countertops. But if you don't have countertops, your plumbers can't come in to do that final plumbing with your sinks, toilets, things like that. So because it's a domino process, if one domino kind of gets held up, everything gets held up. So builders have just learned to kind of give you a broad date and then kind of narrow it down when we're about 30 days out, which can also be very frustrating. With that, you have to have patience with the build process. It can be very frustrating if you try to go to the house every week and weeks have gone by and no one's touched your house. And it's just, there's things that happen along the way. Maybe they're waiting on material. Maybe they're waiting on a county inspection. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you aren't aware about that could be causing a delay, or it could just be they're waiting on the next trade to come out and that trade is booked up. So you have to have a lot of patience if you decide to build. If you're low on patience, or you just know that's going to be too stressful, then building in St. Johns might not be the thing for you. The second reason new construction might not be for you in St. Johns is lot sizes. In St. Johns, you'll see builders who build like 40-foot lots, 50-foot lots, 60-foot lots, all the way up to like 80-foot lots. And people get so excited. Like if a new community is coming with like 80-foot lots, people are like, yes, we're going to have huge yards and houses are going to be spaced out. Unfortunately, most new neighborhoods here, the bigger the lot just means the bigger the house. So the bigger the footprint of the house on your lot. And almost all builders have a 5-foot buffer up to a 10-foot buffer between your house and your property line. So you could be as little as 10 feet away from your neighbor. So although you might see something like 70-foot lots and think, wow, I'm going to have a huge yard, the width of the lot really just is going to dictate the type of home that can go on that lot. And you really want to look at the depth of the lot. I know Bartram Ranch was one of the neighborhoods that people got very excited about, thinking they were going to, it was kind of like, think Bartram Ranch, right? It was named thinking people are going to have these huge yards. And they don't. The lot is huge, but the houses are so big in that community. Most backyards are like 10 to 15 feet. So it kind of threw people for a loop once the neighborhood started getting developed. So if you're looking to build and you really want like a developed large yard, you're going to have to be really picky with the lot you choose. Have the builder put the floor plan on the lot you like so you can see the depth, but understand you're probably going to be very close to your neighbors. Where if you buy a resale, you can there are neighborhoods with bigger home sites with smaller homes on them, or just big homes with bigger home sites to where you do have that further distance between you and the home next to you. The third reason new construction might not be for you in St. John's is that the way builders work here is it might be very hard to stay on budget. And the reason for that is if you build from the ground up, you will more often than not, with most of the builders here, you're going to have a price for your lot and then a price for the floor plan. And then when you first go under contract, you're going to have your structural changes meeting. And that's where you add any extra plumbing, any extra electrical. You can change your door height, your ceiling height. If the builders let you move walls, this is where that happens. And then you sign the contract. You're officially under a contract with your builder. At this stage, you pay your deposit. Some builders require 5%, 10%. Some have a very hefty price tags to secure that lot, that home site, and that floor plan. And then they're going to start sending things off to permitting because it has all your structural changes. Well, now that you've put that deposit down, you're falling in love with the house, you're searching Pinterest, you're doing all those things. But guess what? You still have one more appointment that they usually wait 4 to 6 weeks to schedule. And that is your design appointment. And that is where you get to pick out all the pretty finishing touches in your home, such as your flooring, your countertops, your cabinet color, and things like that. And that meeting can get pretty expensive. And every builder has like a standard level, but most builders have carpet in the living room, carpet in all areas. And so it's one of those, no one really wants carpet. So right off the bat, you're kind of upgrading there. Same with white cabinets are almost never standard. They kind of put base level things that people don't want for free because they want you to spend money here. But the problem is you've fallen in love with the house. You've already put a deposit down. You've been dreaming about what your house is going to look out. And now you finally see the price tag of what it's going to cost to get that home to look like the way you do. So if you are a stickler on budget and you're worried about like unnecessary fees later on, building might not be for you. And one other thing to note is typically they say expect to spend about 10% at your design appointment, meaning if you're under contract between your lot and your floor plan and your structural changes at about $500,000, expect to spend $50,000 at design center. So you can spend a pretty penny there, and I've seen buyers spend way more. Us personally, we spent about 20 more grand than we wanted to, and it's because I really wanted engineered hardwood floors, and that was a non-negotiable for me. And of course, that came with a very hefty price tag, but it was something we didn't want to deal with aftermarket. So unfortunately, we went over budget. But if you're one that can stick to a budget and kind of do some cosmetic changes later on, and you're not worried about that, then you might have a better experience picking out design center options and keeping within that budget you've set for yourself. The fourth reason new construction might not be for you is because of all the future development. Now, I feel like the county almost builds the neighborhood and then builds what's around it. And I cannot tell you how many rumors have been in St. John's about we're getting a Target, oh, we're getting a Trader Joe's. People have all these expectations of like, oh, this is going to go here. The neighborhood's built. And then what's there isn't actually there. We have a running joke that St. John's loves car washes and storage units. So if you decide to build, make sure you build on what is currently there and know that what's coming next, we don't have really control over. And unfortunately, I've ran into problems where the on-site agent, the agent that works for the builder that's sitting in those model homes, sometimes they oversell the future development. And one of the biggest cases of that was Beach Walk. Beach Walk is this huge lagoon neighborhood with crystal clear water. I think it's like 1,400 acres. It's a huge lagoon that is absolutely beautiful. But when it was starting being built, the clubhouse wasn't there, the lagoon was there, And then everyone was told there was going to be commercial development on the front side of the lagoon. And the way these site agents talked about it, they really sold it as it was going to be restaurants and bars and kind of a one-stop shop where you could eat lunch and look out over this crystal lagoon. But unfortunately, Beach Walk is built. They built the amenity center and it looks like this grand building, but it's a facade. It looks huge, but really when you go in, it has like a small gym and then a small restaurant, but they built it to look from the road as this huge building. It's just not very deep. And then the future development on the front, a lot of it still isn't developed, and instead they've put in an apartment complex. Margaritaville, a hotel, has signed, so some residents aren't very happy because if Margarita is building on this lagoon, that might take away from the privacy of the lagoon, as I'm sure the hotel guests will be able to pay to have some sort of access there. And then what is there right now, aside from the apartments, is a gas station and a car wash. So I know some residents there feel like they kind of got the rug pulled out under them or kind of the wool put over their eyes because they were sold on this future development that was supposed to be so great. And right now it's not looking like it's going to be as great as they were told. Also, with all the future development and so many neighborhoods coming in, the schools are playing catch up. A lot of the big neighborhoods do have K-8 academies planned to go in, like Silverleaf will have its own, Rivertown will have its own K-8. Beacon Lake and Shearwater's K-8s are opening up this upcoming year, and Nocte is expected to get one more K-8. But with all these new schools, expect, if you have students school aged, for them to get rezoned. Personally, when we built our neighborhood was zoned for one school. Because other schools are opening or development is causing populations to shift at schools, our neighborhood is now on its third K-8. They were all rated in 9 or a 10, so we knew our kids were going to a school that was just as good, if not better. But it did cause a lot of parents to be upset because obviously you don't want your child going to a new school every year. With that being said, we're at a K-8 for the second year in a row. But our assumption is when Rivertown opens their K-8, it's going to pull a lot of kids out of another K-8 there, and then we'll probably go back to that second K-8 we were at. Likewise, this year alone, or the 2024-2025 school year, Beacon Lake and Shearwater's K-8 is expected to open. And when it does, it's supposed to affect 8 different school zones. So just because you might not be going to that new school being built, it will shift the population around. So that is something to keep in mind when you move into an area with a lot of future development going on. The fifth and final reason, and one thing that I think is the most important when looking at new construction and why new construction might not be for you, is it's really hard to tell the vibe of a neighborhood until about a year or two after construction is complete. And what do I mean by the vibe? I mean, is it going to be a cookie cutter neighborhood? How strict are those site agents on construction? Will they allow multiple of the same floor plans right next to each other where it looks very cookie cutter? Are they going to be strict on house colors? Unfortunately, the road I'm on, about 75% of my road is the same exact floor plan, and almost every home on this road is some sort of gray color. I've been in other neighborhoods by the same builder, but just different site agents that were very strict on you could not have a similar color within so many houses of each other. And that's something you don't know until the neighborhood is almost complete, because if you're at the early stages of the neighborhood where there's just a house here, you don't know how it's all going to develop. Is the neighborhood mainly 2 stories and it just looks like on top of each other, or is there a good variation? How close are the homes to each other? Another thing, demographics or age of neighbors. It's really hard to tell what that population is going to be at the early stages of a neighborhood because people aren't moved in yet. When I help young families buy homes, I always say hit the amenity center, hit the parks, kind of see it as a very active after school, things like that. Well, if the neighborhood's new and not everyone's living here, that's something that's really hard to look at. Also, same with community events. Once the builder is out of the neighborhood, the HOA gets turned over to the residents. So with that being said, are the residents hosting events? Are the residents keeping up with those HOA bylaws? Are they strict on the HOA bylaws? Meaning, is the neighborhood still up to its pristine condition where the houses look so new? Or Is the HOA starting to let things slip a little and people are kind of doing whatever they want with the outside of their house? Those are things you just don't know when you buy new construction, because it takes about a year or two after construction is done to really understand the culture of a neighborhood. So there you have it. Those are my 5 reasons why new construction might not be for you if you're looking to move to St. John's. As I've mentioned multiple times, we built in St. John's and I've helped plenty of buyers buy here. So if you do still want to go the new construction route, just keep in mind those 5 things I talked about today, and I'd love to help you. Like I mentioned before, there is a link in my bio where we can set up an appointment, kind of get to know each other, talk about new construction or buying in the area, and I can kind of point you to some builders or some resale neighborhoods that I think would best fit you and what you're looking for. So I'm Caitlin Bosser. Thank you for visiting Living in St. John's and hope to connect soon. See you next week.